Hey everyone, Ali here. Today's video is going to be sort of a sequel to my 10 things you should know before beginning ballet class. So this will be 10 more things you should know before beginning ballet class. Things you should keep in mind. Number one, I am not an expert, so please do your own research as my body still has a very long way to go. Also, these aren't in any order of importance necessarily, just kind of the first 10 that came to mind. I'm trying to go for things that you'll find at the bar, things that will be in your beginning ballet class. If you're serious about picking up ballet, I strongly recommend getting a ballet dictionary. I will put the actual French/technical definitions of the terms in the description box below. Also, if you haven't watched my first video, definitely go and do that. I'll put the link in the description box below, as I will be mentioning things in this video that sort of reference the first one. I don't have a mirror to work with here in this video, so I'm going to do my absolute best to be technically correct in my demonstrations, but please have a little grace for me as I actually don't have anything to check myself in as I'm filming this video. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is when your teacher says inside leg, outside leg, or working leg and standing leg. So let's just clarify what those are real quick. Your inside leg is going to be the one that's closest to the bar. So in this case, that would be my left leg. So here's my inside leg, and this would be considered my outside leg. Whatever leg is moving at that time, this is going to be called your working leg. And alternatively, whatever one you're standing on, that's going to be your standing leg or supporting leg. Next we have ruh-tee-ray and passe. Please excuse my turnout, I'm still working on that. Ruh-tee-ray is when you take your leg and you place it like so. Now there are variations. Sometimes you will place it in the back, and sometimes you'll place it in front of the knee. For the most part, you'll be placing it here. Some teachers will have different preferences as they want it higher or lower, or more crossed or less crossed. As you get into turns and things like that, you will find your own niche as well, as different body shapes, as your legs are different lengths and whatnot. Your center of balance will be affected by different places in your foot. So I actually find that it's easier for me to balance if I place my toe a little farther to the outside. But something like this is what you're aiming for. Now watch out. As I mentioned in my first video, one of the dangers that we run into a lot in ballet is sickling. So this is a position that is extremely easy to sickle in, because if you put any weight on this foot at all, you will sickle, because you'll fall just like that. So you don't want that at all. You have to be holding your leg with your leg. Don't use your foot. So you try to wing that foot if you can. Keep your hips down. Our first instinct when we lift our leg in any position is to also lift that hip. So you want to be careful not to let this happen. Keep your butt tucked and keep the hip down as much as possible. Now, the difference between a ruh-tee-ray and a passe is when you go up to ruh-tee-ray and then pass through that position. So when we do a passe to the back, we'd be coming up from the front through ruh-tee-ray and then back down our leg to the other side. So that is a passe. Next up we have the a-tee-tewd. An a-tee-tewd is sort of a halfway point between a passe and a fully extended leg. We try to find somewhere halfway in between. And to the back, now this is a very tricky one for me because I always have trouble with lifting my hip. You don't want to lift your hip. Now, some teachers have different preferences with a-tee-tewds as well. For the most part with a-tee-tewds to the back, it's safe to say that you want your knee higher than your foot. You don't want this because that means that you turned in. You want to stay turned out. Like I said, it's very tricky to try to keep your hip down and be turned out at the same time. And be careful not to do this, that's sickly. Now when you add coupe, which we learned in the first video, and ruh-tee-ray, passe, and a-tee-tewd all into one, following through with an extension, we have something called a Developpe. Say you're starting in 5th position. Your first step is to go to a coupe, and so instantly when you lift your working leg off the floor, you're going to think knee back, toe back, heel forward, and wrap. So here we go. We go and 1. So pushing my knee back, pushing my heel forward. We bring that up to ruh-tee-ray passe. Now as you extend, the goal is to not let your knee drop at all. So what you don't want to do is lift it real nice and high and then follow through with your extension. When you're practicing and you want to push yourself, you can start with a high knee, a high expectation. Remember to keep this hip down, and then practice holding your knee there as you extend. I don't think I can get there. That's about as high as I can go. But for the most part, you want to try and only lift your knee to a point where you'll be able to follow through with it. So I'm probably somewhere around here. So I want to keep my knee in that position before I close. The side is also very, very difficult. Everything in ballet is difficult, okay? This is one where it's very, very easy to lift your hip because it is easier to lift your leg when you lift your hip, but we don't want to do that. So first thing, toe back, knee back, heel forward, and we lift through. Try as hard as you can to tuck your butt and keep your hip down as you extend through your a-tee-tewd to the side. Control it down. Don't collapse when you get to your final destination. If anything, hold it and aim a little higher and then bring it down and close. You don't want to do this. You don't want to get there and then throw it and let it down. I see that happen a lot. They muster up all their strength to get their leg right about here, and then they say, okay, I'm going to give it one last push, and then, but that's not what we want. A Developpe, for the most part, is a slow, controlled movement, so you want all your movements to be dripping with control. Into the back, so we start right in our coupe to ruh-tee-ray passe, you bring it back, and extend. Next up, I'd like to talk to you about fondues. Now, I bring them up because usually when we do fondues at the bar, we follow through with a développé of some sorts, whether it's low or higher. A fondue starts off right away with a coupe and a plie at the same time. You're going to plie on your supporting leg and coupe with your working leg. So, right away, it's 1. Okay? So, and 1. Here we are in our fondue. Now, when we finish out the movement, the goal, which is very tricky, is to straighten both legs at the same time. And usually what happens is we straighten up on the working leg before this leg has even had a chance to extend. So you want this to be one harmonious movement as you extend to try and get that to reach at the same time. So we have down and extend, down. Fondues also can be small, of course, so they can also go a little boop and a boop. They can extend just to a point, but you still want both legs to straighten at the same time. So here we have fondue and straighten, fondue and straighten. To the side we have fondue and straighten, or fondue and straighten. To the back, fondue and point, fondue and extend. Something else you absolutely want to know before you go to ballet class is what an arabesque is. An arabesque is where you take your leg to the back and you lift it up. So there's sort of a few different positions in arabesques that we aim for. One of them would be at about 45 degrees, and then 90 degrees, which I am still working at, where you want your leg to come back straight from your hips. Don't do this. Don't let your chest fall, don't let your hips go back. As you get higher, and as you get way better than me, you're allowed to rotate as you lift. When you see those girls in the pictures where their leg is all the way up and they're doing the split standing up, their upper body is sort of more at a lower angle to allow for that to happen. If I give myself something to hold on to here, I might be able to demonstrate a little better. Here we have Arabesque. Next we have bat-mahns. Bat-mahns come in so many different varieties, so I'm going to try my best to break it down simple. I want to talk to you first about grahn bat-mahns. So grahn bat-mahns are basically giant kicks. The number one thing you want to look out for when you're doing a grahn bat-mahn is making sure your upper body doesn't collapse. Because the first thing you want to do when you kick your leg up is to go like this to allow your leg to get higher. So you don't want to do this. Do your best to keep this controlled and firm as you kick this leg. So try your best not to let this happen. Up and strong. And to the side, again, this is the same with Developpes or Developpes, is your hip going up. You want it to be controlled and under when you're doing your grahn bat-mahns. So don't power your leg up there and then go, oh good, it's over. Bring it down with control. Now, definitely there are times when you don't have time to bring it down slowly. The music is fast and you're doing these quickly. But for the most part, you want it to shoot up and bring it down, and up and bring it down. So aim for shooting up and controlling it down. The back, don't let your chest fall. Imagine a string pulling up out of your head as you're doing these to the back, and kick, and kick. Now, with grahn bat-mahns, if your arabesque goes up high enough, you have some freedom, like I said when we were talking about arabesques, to, when your back is straight up, your leg is straight up, to rotate on the axis. And to try not to pull back on this leg, okay? Next in the bat-mahn section, we have Petit bat-mahns. Petit bat-mahns refer to any small beating movement of the feet. So there's a lot of different types of things within the Petit bat-mahn section. There are basically two common ones that you'll run into in class at the bar. So the first one I want to talk about starts with a flexed foot, and you beat the floor like that. To the side, to the back, brush, and hit, 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 hit. As you advance, you'll run into doubles, which is a beat, beat, hit, beat, beat, hit, beat, beat, hit. Now the other type that you run into is with a pointed foot. Normally these are done up on elevate. So you'll start here and you just extend and close. Extend, boot, do, to the back. The other one that you might run into is where you beat from front to back, like so. This beating is done as fast as you can go, and you want to try and keep all the movement from the knee down. You don't want to do this. So you want to try to keep all this steady and just let it do its thing from the knee. Next, I want to talk to you about a cute little step called a pas de cheval, which means step of the horse. To the front, you wrap and extend. Pas de chevals are a great opportunity to practice our turnout. To the side, they look something like this. And to the back, something like this. Pas de chevals can also be done backwards. Don't worry about it for now, you probably won't be doing these right off the bat. But just for future reference, that would be the reverse. So up, in, and down. Also a great opportunity to practice your turnout, because when you lift and you're coming back, you think knee back right away and down. Last up, but definitely not least on today's list, is a little movement called a pas-de-ray. These can be done in a variety of different ways, but usually in a basic ballet, pas-de-ray means back, side, front, and it's a changing of the feet. So if I do a pas-de-ray, you notice here my right leg is in front. I'm going to coupe my back foot and step on my back foot, give a step up, so it's back, side, front, and that's where you finish. So now I've changed positions. My left foot is now in front. So it's pas-de-ray, pas-de-ray, back, side, front, back, side, front. These can also be done with little coupe lifts or to a ruh-tee-ray passe. just to give you a sneak peek of what else could happen, just so you have it in your brain. It can also go front, side, back. So front, side, back, front, side, back. It can also go back, side, back, where you don't change anything. Back, side, back, or the same with the front. Front, side, front. Don't worry about those ones for now. You probably won't run into them. There's also pas de bourrées that turn. We'll get into that later. So that finishes it up for today. I really hope you found that helpful and useful. Don't forget to watch the first video if you haven't. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/themissallykay. Stay tuned for more cool videos like this one, and I will see you all next time. Bye!